Thesis, construction, and justification exercise. Large artificially colored walls loom over the plaza. Strange tinkling music drowns out birdsong and emits from giant speakers across the whole resort. The only windows that show vegetation are the top of the most expensive suites, where the people there are more concerned about the window viewing inside the resort rather than out. George Orwell established this idea in his essay, Pleasure Spots. His essay shows nature being overtaken by people to the point of them becoming animalistic, as if they are mounting to the very thing they do not want to become. The fear of nature is slowly declining as the earth becomes more man-made and artificial. Orwell describes the act of people taking over nature very clearly in his text. The forests and spots of greenery referred to by Coleridge would be cleaned up to make way for glass-covered tennis courts, a bandstand, a roller skating rink, and perhaps a 9-hole golf course. Nature is truly breathtaking and holds lots of wildlife, foliage, and hidden wonders. Although, with the presence of these resorts and built activities, all the aspects of nature in this area will be gone as people take more and more from it. Orwell is saying that the opening of the Kublai project is presenting a false reality, and there were gardens bright with sinuous rills, where blossomed many an incense-bearing tree, and here were forests ancient as the hills unfolding sunny spots of greenery. This reality seemed to include nature, but it would only be a gateway for a man-made haven when the only aspect of nature is a bouquet of plastic, shiny flowers. As stated above, man continues to overcome nature. However, Orwell suggests that as man continues to build and separate himself from the wild, he's becoming like an animal. For man only stays human by preserving large patches of simplicity in his life, while the tendency of many modern inventions, in particular film, the radio, and the aeroplane, is to awaken his consciousness, dull his curiosity, and in general drive him near to animals. His statement is eye-opening and shocking. It leaves the reader thinking about his topic. When people continue to stare unblinking at a screen, to have music and sounds playing constantly and widen a gap between themselves and their hobbies, their minds begin to form a resemblance to the brains of wildlife creatures. A blank, unthinking, and absent-minded individual is what occurs when people continue to starve curiosity and creativity by hiding the earth's mystical wonders and covering them up with assorted plastics. Nature is anything but a tame, docile force. The fear of nature is beginning to erode away as more resorts, towering ships, and huge man-made structures are formed. The moon is beautiful partly because we cannot reach it. The sea is impressive because one can never be sure of crossing it safely. As people see these wonderful aspects of nature, they can begin to undermine them because of the many structures built around them. As man gazes out upon these wonders, he can begin to feel as if his own strength and mind is comparable as he stands on his own project. But the whole notion of admiring nature and feeling a sort of religious awe in the presence of glaciers, deserts, or waterfalls is bound up with the sense of man's littleness and weakness against the power of the universe. This idea of power and hierarchy can easily be overlooked as skyscrapers and monuments reach the height of mountains and rock formations. As cylinder block structures and metal formations rise from the work of human hands, the world begins to look more gray than green. With the aid of the atomic bomb, we could literally move mountains. We could even, so it is said, alter the climate of the Earth by melting the polar ice caps and interrogating the Sahara. People can make the world whatever they want with the help of new inventions and experiments. But meanwhile, man's power over nature is steadily increasing. The reality of man's power is frightening as more nature is stripped away. Man needs warmth, society, leisure, comfort, and security. He also needs solitude, creative work, and the sense of wonder. If he recognized this, he could use the products of science and industrialism, electricity, applying always the same test. Does this make me more human or less human? To withdraw from the nature-eating construction and animal-like behavior humans command upon themselves and their earth, they can use what they know to better themselves and embrace a life of virtue and love. Resorts, man-made oases, and luxurious hotels allude to the human eye as key vacation spots. However, people still have the choice to go camping, horseback riding, and enjoy outdoor activities without being influenced by large-scale getaways. People do not have to go to such resorts. They have a choice. They can choose to be surrounded by vegetation and immersed in the wonders of nature. When one looks at Coleridge's very different conception of a pleasure dome, one sees that it revolves partly around gardens and partly around caverns, rivers, forests, and mountains with deep romantic chasms. In short, round what is called nature. Orwell reminds his readers what nature really is, a pleasure dome which people can choose to be immersed in. The idea that nature is becoming more confined by man-made walls and structures is bigger than people may think. The realization of nature's fragility may be shown more heavily so it can be a reminder of how real and important it is. Nature reminds people of their littleness and helps them to remain humble. It influences humans' desire to be creative and experience their own sense of awe in the presence of mountains or even in the presence of a small flower growing in an unusual place. It encourages life and originality instead of a droning vegetative state. Lastly, humans have the need to be within nature, so the newer technologies of everyday life do not drown their desire to be authentic with oneself. Thank you.